Your sleep doesn't start 5 minutes before bed. It starts in the morning.
Yeah. It's good to have you here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Finally.
Yes. Well, good things, take time. But
Exactly. We've been chatting for a while, and I feel like since we've been chatting, the conversation around sleep it's just blowing up in the media all the time.
Yeah. Yes, it's getting bigger and bigger.
So it's cool to have someone here who actually knows what they're talking about.
Yes.
But to start the podcast, I always like to ask people, given that we're in a sauna and we're about to have a good sweat, what's the sweatiest you've ever been? Like, what's the sweatiest moment you can think of that you've experienced?
You see, it's actually in the sauna. You see, makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So you see, I grew up in a community that sauna was a part of living. So every Friday night or Saturday night, no, it's not important right now, but every Friday night, let's say, my mother used to take me to sauna since I was 3 years old. So it was like a Friday night was a women's night and Saturday night was men's night. So my dad would take my brother and my mom would take me, where it's like a big, like a complex, when I say big complex, it's not really that big, but they have big saunas there. So women from the town would go there and be completely naked. Well, you can imagine it's Europe, right? So women would be completely naked and they would go in the sauna for hours, like say 3, 4, 5 hours. And they use the sauna as a therapy, treatment, or as a necessity as well. So this would be my sweatiest moment since I was 3 years old. And we would sit in the sauna and we get this bunch of branches and women just go and smack each other with it, right?
Like virtually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was like a therapy. So you go whack each other with it while you lie down. And it was a part of therapy. I think it's more like get the toxins out and feel great the next day. And that would last them for a week and then do it again the next week. So this was my sweatiest moment. Started when I was 3. And there was, at the time, there was no age restrictions where people can go to sauna. So 3 years old, off you go with the adults. Yeah, you're in it fully.
What country was this in?
I'm from Moldova, so I was in Moldova. But it's really popular in that kind of whole region.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I was in Germany last year and it was the first time I'd been to Europe, and it was just so clear to me how much sauna is part of culture over there. It's just everywhere.
It is.
Yeah.
And they don't mind getting naked.
Yeah.
Because they treat sauna as something that it's not a luxury. It's a necessity. You get naked, it's like you're having a shower at home.
Yeah.
It's a part of your shower. It's a part of your ritual.
Yeah. Same thing in in Japan. You go to the onsens. First time I was in Japan, went to an onsen. Like, admittedly, I was like, oh, okay, yep, we're all getting naked now. Okay, no worries, yeah. Because in Australian culture, that's not a thing.
No.
It's, that doesn't happen, and there's a bit of it's behind closed doors kind of thing. You go to Europe, you have a sauna, and it's like, of course we're naked.
Exactly. So 2 years ago, I was in Switzerland and I was staying in just a hotel. And again, it was a beautiful kind of section there where they have sauna, steam room, showers, and a little kind of section where you drink tea or flavored infused water. And again, I walk in there as a naked man. Firstly, again, living in Australia for so long, I took another kind of look at where am I? Like if there is 2 sections, but I realized there was a woman too. So, and they were all kind of walking around naked, having a shower, going in the sun. I thought, I get it. Yeah. I'm in Europe, I can relax, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't something unusual, but at first it was. But, once you remember where you are, you know exactly what's going on.
Yeah. And you feel more safe in that sense as well. Yeah.
Because I don't care. They're not there to pervert you or to look at you, judge you. They're just like, I don't even care who you are or what you're doing here. I'm here just to get my daily ritual, right?
To do the bathing. Yeah. And so how did you get into sleep then?
So, I firstly was troubled by insomnia really bad. So that was years ago. And I did not enjoy that, right? That being so tired all the time, struggling at night, trying to fall asleep, trying to think. I got to a point, because I was struggling and I had a little baby. So I was at the point when I was thinking, my baby must have bad energy because I can't sleep next to my baby, right? And I thought, you see, you get so crazy about it and you're trying to do so many things and you start to thinking that way, right? Oh, it must be my baby, it must be this, it must be that. But really, it's not that. So I started digging deeper and I kind of started doing these things for myself. I started studying, and I realized that I know so much. I want to apply all this to myself, and this is how it started. So first, I started with kinesiology. I was a kinesiology practitioner, and yes, and I still couldn't sleep. So what I did one day, I was so tired of that. I pulled out all my kinesiology database out, and I picked the nighttime meridians. And I picked out all of the points related to the nighttime meridians from about 7 p.m. till 9 a.m. the next day, just to cover everything. And I started to apply that to myself. I traced the meridians. I found the points. I rubbed the points. Anything that related to that meridian, I was doing it. And I developed this kind of manual for myself, about 20 pages. And I was continuously, religiously practicing that every single night. Like there is no tomorrow. Right? And to be honest, by the time I put it all together, in one night I was asleep, and I got fascinated by that. I was like, wait a minute, I've been suffering with this for like 5 years, and that could be fixed in one night. So I started telling people, can I try this for me? And I printed so many of these manuals, and I said, can you try that? I gave it to my mom, I gave it to my family, I gave it to my daughter. She was like 6 at the time, and I started doing this on people, and I started emailing it to people. So, can you try this? Can you try that? And people started giving me feedback, and it went that way. And people was like, "Oh, you should write a book." I was like, "I should write a book about it." So it was kind of accidental in a way, and then I went into science. So that's how it started.
Yeah, nice.
We're talking years, right?
Yeah. I find like when it comes from a place of like needing to fix yourself, that's when the cool stuff happens.
Very cool.
Right? Because it's just like, I need to do this for me. And then you realize you come across something like, that actually kind of works, and then you start to feed more and more into it.
Because you're in a place of desperation, and you need transformation. And as much as I went to doctors couldn't understand me. I couldn't explain what's going on with me. I can't sleep. Because I couldn't sleep, I had sore back, right? I had headaches. I had autoimmune disease. Doctors didn't know what to do with themselves, right, with me. So the only hope I had is do it myself.
I think the doctors also, it's like, take a sleeping pill.
And I was given antidepressant medication. But I don't want to dismiss the job that doctors do right now. I want to just say that I was in such a bad place that I could not even explain what's going on with me. Right? So doctors don't know where to go with you, but yet give medication for the short-term relief, but it wasn't what I needed. So I wanted to go into, dig deeper. And that's the person I am with everything. I want to know the causation of this. Why is this happening? Even though you might not always know why it's happening, but you find, while you're looking for that, you find what really helps you.
And I like too how it was a focus on like, what are the things that you could do each night to get a better sleep. I think like for a lot of pretty much everyone that I've ever spoken to about sleep, it's like, or speak to about health, it's like, you got to eat well, you got to exercise, you got to stay hydrated, do all that stuff. And then at the end of the day, I'll just like put my head on the pillow and I should go to sleep. And it's like, we focus on, if you go and exercise, you got to bring your towel and you got to do a certain routine, right? Or if you're eating well, you kind of learn what works for you, and then you eat those things, and there's a practice around it. But then with sleep, like, people aren't treating it like a practice. They're just, it's the end of the day and just like, oh, why aren't I sleeping? You know what I mean? And they put no energy into actually trying to set themselves up for sleep. And it sounds like the meridians was kind of the start of that. for you.
It was. And I can't explain the science. There's no science behind it, right? But who needs to know the science? Not like you lying in bed trying to think, the science says. You don't think like that.
Yes.
All you want is just give me that sleep, right?
Yeah.
So science aside, who really cares about that? Well, you care about what really works for you.
Yeah.
And it's all about rituals. It's all about getting your body, but it's also your head in the right space, right? I didn't even need to go into science or sleep, but I wanted to. But that's not what I really do at home for myself. I create rituals. I have complementary medicine at home. So complementary medicine is yoga, is sauna, is tea, like herbal tea, is everything that complements your health and your life, right? So this is what you do when you practice. Kinesiology is complementary medicine modality, right? So, and ancient philosophies, such as yoga, and such as traditional Chinese medicine, that's what kinesiology is based on. And also practice of saunas. Like it started all with hydrotherapy those days. It started with massages, and people evolved this way. They invented, saunas. And it was like previously was, as much as it was hydrotherapy, it was a hot bath.
Yeah, it was like baths and kind of hot kind of rooms and it was like a whole procedure. There's multiple steps and everything.
And
like
look at today what we've got, infrared. We evolved so much, but it never died. It will never die, because more and more people enhance this, right? But they also include this in their lifestyle, because they really understand when somebody in a place where they suffer and where they know they on the path is going down, and that's when something clicks in your brain, where the brain tells you got to survive this. You can't sustain because you don't feel great. This is where I was, and from that place, your mindset switched completely, has 180 degrees turnaround, where you begin to do these things to survive, and then you get to love it.
Yeah.
You can never go back.
Absolutely.
Like we spoke this morning, you mentioned that you do things that you know are good for you, even if they're uncomfortable at the start. That's exactly what I do. And why not? You get past that discomfort.
Yeah.
Anything that's good for you will be uncomfortable because it's not something you used to do all the time.
100%. Well, you're out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely, but why not? It's fun.
Yeah.
Life is fun when you do these things, right? You can create your own lifestyle. You can create your own living in that space. It's almost like you shifted from being in a general population where you don't know too much about it. You're just in a kind of, you have just a normal life where you have normal diet, right? Which is normal these days. I
don't even know what's normal anymore.
We call it sad diet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that becomes such a normal thing these days, right? Where you transition stuff into kind of usual life, which is kind of normal, should be normal, because that's how it always was. Where you eat vegetables. For example, I'm not a vegan, but I eat 90%. This is my rule, which I follow no matter where I am. So you have 90% plants and you have 10%, whatever you want. Yeah. But you cut out sugar, you cut out alcohol, you cut out, what else? You cut caffeine, but you have
just processed foods.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't need that. Yeah. Right? So, and I class that as normal diet. When I see people eat big Parmigiano with chips, I can't do that. I just can't do it. Yeah. I have to literally force myself to do it, but why would I do that? That would be uncomfortable.
Yeah, the wrong kind of discomfort.
Absolutely. So
it's going backwards.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I like that. I think like you were saying, I think for a lot of people, you get to that point where things aren't going right. We always talk about it here, like really from very early on in life, our health generally is just doing this.
Yeah.
And then it gets to a point where something switches in our brain because it's like, I can't do this anymore. You know what I mean? Tony Robbins talks about that a lot, where it's like the bad stuff, it's in your nervous system. And like when it's so strong and the pain's so bad and we associate, whatever we're doing with that pain, and we don't want to feel that pain anymore, that's when we make the switch.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? When it's so bad, it's like, I can't go back there. And it's like, for me, it's like, if I was to eat a chicken parmigiana, it's like that I'm associating with how I used to feel before I started getting healthy.
But it also will make you sick.
Yeah, totally.
It would make you sick. And then you wonder, how did I do it before? Didn't make me immediately sick, but obviously over time.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be in this place of wanting transformation.
100%.
Because this is when the switch goes, where we're at the point of such like desperation for better. And this is when the switch goes, and I'm glad it goes, right?
Yeah,
it
exactly.
is actually a survival mechanism.
Yeah.
So because if something switches on for you to survive where you are, because it's evolution, we're designed that way, right? And it's really amazing that we have that mechanism in our brain, because if we didn't, we would go down, and the humanity, like humankind, would not evolve, and we wouldn't have infrared saunas these days, correct? So great things come from the bad places when we are in the bottom, and when we need that.
So if someone's in a bad place with their sleep, what should they do? Like, what's the general sort of, like, if people could just do a few things to help them sleep better?
Firstly, before I answer your question, so many people are in the bad place right now. There's 10 million people in Australia can't sleep. 10 million people. But you see, it's not all 10 million people are going to do something about it, firstly. And a lot of those people just don't know what to do. Their first point of, getting any kind of advice or solution, going to the doctor. But doctors aren't trained to treat insomnia. No long term. Any medications prescribed for insomnia only been tested and trialed, not even on humans, just for about 28 days. But it's unknown what happens to you after you take that prescription for over 28 days, correct? So at the moment, there is nothing to give that data and to give that information. So not doctors, not patients themselves know where they're going with it. So, but for those who want to really change their life, they start looking. And usually when people come to me, they are in such desperate state, and I wish they would come to me earlier, or to somebody else who can help them in the complementary kind of medicine direction. So my emphasis is a lot on environment at home, right? Environment, your surrounding. So when I talk about environment, it's not about, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to turn your house around. You don't have to sell your house, right?
Yeah. Go and live near the beach.
Exactly. You don't have to live in a tent and wear no shoes, right? And eat sand. You don't have to do that. But you see, before you get to environment, I teach people always to look for sleep disruptors. So it's either sleep disruptors as physical things that we take, or sleep disrupting behaviors, correct? So let's give an example. People drink wine at night, or any kind of alcohol. That is a sleep disruptor. Even people say, oh, you know what? It makes me sleep so good. Yeah, it will. It'll drop you asleep at the first part of the night, but you will suffer because we sleep in these chunks, right? They're called like sleep cycles, right? So each sleep cycle has 5 phases in it, and each cycle is different to the one before. However, each cycle needs to have 5 phases, which is light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep. Right? So
how long does that cycle last?
So in healthy individuals, about 90 minutes. In children, it's about 60 minutes. But it can vary depending on your lifestyle and stress levels and your diet. Just many factors influence. But generally speaking, 90 minutes. So in first couple of cycles at night, 2-3 cycles, we get a lot of deep sleep. we get only a very small amount of REM and light sleep. But that evolves during the night. So towards morning, we get a couple of cycles where we predominantly spend time in REM and light sleep. That's just how we evolved. This is why we dream so much towards the waking, towards the morning. So because memory consolidation, processing needs to happen during REM sleep only. But cell rejuvenation, organism recuperation needs to happen during deep sleep. Because during REM sleep, this is a different process, right? But another interesting thing is that when we are asleep, the body, some specific functions in the body are switched on when they aren't switched on during waking.
Okay. So
recovery, we can only recover during sleep.
And so does alcohol get in the way of those systems happening?
Absolutely. So what alcohol does, it robs you of your REM and light sleep in the first part of the night, so you get none. And then what happens, it robs you of deep sleep in the later part of the night. So your cycles aren't complete. They're completely messed up.
Right. So in the first part of the night, typically we're getting, the majority is that deep sleep, and there's a little bit of REM.
Yes.
And light sleep, right? Yes. And then vice versa, the latter half of the night, there's more REM and light, less deep. Yes. But when we drink alcohol, it takes away that light and REM from the first part.
Exactly.
So it's just deep sleep. We're not getting those other, there's no mix.
No.
Right. Okay. That totally makes sense. And that would also probably explain why people think they get a good sleep, because they drink alcohol and they go straight to sleep and it feels like a deep sleep, but it's not a complete sleep.
It's not a proper sleep we need. So imagine, how can your body rejuvenate during that deep sleep when the body is completely poisoned by toxins from the alcohol? I mean, some people say, oh, drink wine because it's good from antioxidants. Yes, if you can find one good thing in drinking alcohol, and that's antioxidants, you can get those antioxidants next morning from tea, drinking green tea, correct? So,
or eat some berries or something.
Absolutely. You can buy some frozen berries and make a smoothie. There's so many other places you can find antioxidants.
I think people are always like holding on to something.
Yes.
You know, it's the same thing with coffee. Like, oh, it's got antioxidants in it. It's like, there's other things.
Exactly. So this is why people emphasize this research on beer prolonging your life. It's not, it's really, you know, the research is not been done correctly, perhaps. It's just anecdotal, or I have not researched that. I have no desire or time to go into that kind of research. However, people want to hold on. It's psychological. I mean, not to blame people, not to call them that they not doing right things, but it's more basically, it's just what understanding that people are holding on to those bad habits because they get something from it. Perhaps they get comfort. Perhaps they get a psychological, attachment.
Yeah, there's a bit of a dopamine hit as well, and
it's a relaxation. Yes, it will relax you, alcohol, right? Because it will put you in a state of relaxation. Because when you are under influence of some kind of sedative, either it's alcohol or something else, you are relaxed. I get it, right? But it's not, it's the bad habit. It's the disruptor. So instead of holding on to those disruptors, instead of relying on them, introduce sleep enhancers and sleep enhancing behaviors. And that's what my big emphasis is. These are small changes, little changes that make a big difference. They really can make, and then you look at the environment. First, you delete the bad things, even if just one. Could be just one.
No more drinking wine before we go to bed.
Could be just, and then it could be another one. Because once you're in that mindset, you look for things. Well, this is what I do. I train myself to be in that mindset where you look at things and you automatically think, is this good for me? Is it bad for me? Like I said, when you first said, this is your water, I was like, is that plastic? Is that what it filtered?
I could tell you were thinking that.
Exactly. I'm analyzing, is it good for me, is it bad for me? But I'm not doing it consciously. This is absolutely unconscious processing. Because I'm thinking, because I checked with you, is this water from this filter? And I've got the same one at home, and I checked the brand. Because I want to know, what is it that I'm drinking? A lot of people drink tap water. And when I go travel, obviously there's tap water.
Yeah.
And I reluctantly drink tap water because I have to drink water.
Yeah.
But I know when I'm drinking, my brain says to me, how much chlorine and how much of this stuff is in this water?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm thinking. And I can't stop myself.
I think it's good, like to build those things in. I had a similar experience when I was in Italy last year, and we were pretty much living off bottled water the whole time. And you can just feel it. It's just like, oh, it's just not right, you know? Your body's like, what are you putting in? We've been getting all this good quality water, all these beautiful foods, and now you're drinking plastic bottled water that's probably been sitting in the sun for 8 weeks before it was on the shelf, you know?
So when it comes to environment and surrounding at home, it's not just, you know, what's in your bedroom. It's who's around you. You know, we can have so many, we can have people around us that can disrupt us. Not saying they're bad people. I'm just saying how we react, or even how the style of ours talking to each other. They don't have to argue. I'm not talking about arguments. I'm talking how loud they speak, what words they say, and also the way they move. See, I always teach my patients, and I always say to them, when you come home from work, whatever your lifestyle permits you, either you come home from work or from the point when the sun is down. But that's not exactly correct for Melbourne because the sun's up for late.
Especially at the moment, yeah.
So let's go from the point of 6 p.m. What do you do from that point? People are like, I don't know. I was like, well, I want you to now start thinking, what am I doing? So I want you to start noticing, what is it that you're doing? It's from 6 p.m. on. I want you to switch off that fast pace into slow motion pace. You can still do things. You don't have to stop and sit there and meditate for next 5 hours before you go to bed. You can do things. You can cook dinner. You can do washing. You can, you know, bathe your children. You can do things. However, I want you to do a little bit slower because your heart rate needs to go down. And for us to sleep well, our heart rate needs to be below 60. In the lab, we do see patients with elevated heart rate, 70, 80, 90. But that's usually associated with some kind of breathing or sleep disorder. So we either observe cessation of breathing, we either observe grasping for air, we either observe some kind of heart arrhythmias.
Yeah, like sleep apnea as well.
Absolutely, the sleep apnea or essential sleep apnea too. So obstructive and essential are two different things.
Okay.
They have same symptoms. Right? So when that happens, if your heart rate is 80 or 90 during sleep, there is some, like, you're not getting needed sleep. It needs to be below 60, between 50 and 60. If it's below 50, it's also not that good, right? Yeah. So you gotta put yourself in the right state for sleeping. You can't just have that crazy pace with adrenaline driven and adrenaline dominated states and then expect to sleep well.
I'm just thinking of like people in the kitchen at night and they're like, oh, I've got to like cook dinner and like get the kids ready and put them in the bath and do this and the TV's on and all the lights are on and it's like maximum stimulation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They get even more stimulated during the night than they were during the day. They spend the day sluggish. At night, they get this adrenaline rush. And then they lie in bed and expect sleep. Yeah. So I always tell people, notice what is it that you're doing at night. I have kids too. I have 2 children. Not saying I'm a superhuman. I'm not. But when you put yourself into the mindset where you know what's right for you at the right time, and if my children, like, we come home from school and we do things, you know, and once it's getting darker, in Queensland it gets darker earlier, or at 6 p.m. I know it's dinner time, I slow down. I intentionally don't have lights above my head at home. I don't have lights in my toilet. When I tell people, they laugh at me. When first the electrician came and I said, there's no light in the toilet, but don't worry about it. That's fine. And he's like, oh, I can put the light. I was like, that's fine. I don't need light. During the day, I have 2 windows in the toilet. I can see. At night, I don't need light. So I don't stress about big lights. I have salt lamps.
Yeah.
I have fairy lights, right? And that's the only lights I have during the night. So I intentionally don't have the lights because my light bulb blew, and my dad said, "Do you want me to change it?" I was like, "No, it's fine. I'm happy."
What actually happens if we're home and we've got all the lights on? And I'm thinking of my mum right now because she always has a fluoro light on in the kitchen whenever she's cooking. So, like, what's actually happening? What's actually going on that's stimulating us by having all that light?
So what happens is those lights, especially fluoro light,
Yeah.
they project this blue and green light, just generally speaking. So what it does, our brain takes the light straight through the optic nerve into the brain. There's no filter. And into the brain where melatonin is produced and affects directly that part of the brain. So our melatonin production, naturally as it was meant to happen, it gets stopped.
Right.
Completely stopped. So we are not longer in a position to prepare us for sleeping, right? But I really want to mention this as well. For us to be able to sleep well, we have two mechanisms. Is circadian rhythm, and we have adenosine tank. So this adenosine tank, this little tank in our brain, where when we wake up in the morning, it's empty. And for us to go back to sleep at night, it needs to be full. So we need to produce adenosine. These little molecules, they need to travel through the blood. They need to be processed by the body from eating glucose. And waste product turns into adenosine. The body is amazing how it works. It makes makes everything we need, but it also recycles it too. So it sends little particles through the blood to the brain and puts them in the adenosine tank. Once it's full, we're ready for sleeping. The body says this trigger, produce melatonin. We're ready for sleep. Tank is ready. It's like a little army going on, right? Army is firing these signals to each other. It's full. Let's start melatonin. Next step, right? So when we have coffee, this is really, again, this is right timing for right things, correct? So I'm not here to tell people to stop drinking coffee, right? So there is a right time for it, and there is a right amount of it. So why am I talking about coffee and adenosine? Because coffee molecular structure is very similar to adenosine molecular structure. So in the body, as smart as our organism is, it gets confused because we put those things inside, right? So when we drink coffee, adenosine receptors think, wait, there's adenosine, and takes on the coffee molecules and blocks the adenosine receptor.
Right.
So once we have those adenosine receptors busy with coffee molecules, adenosine doesn't know what to do. So it doesn't go into the tank, it's blocked.
Right.
So for the next half-life of that coffee, 6 hours, it's only half-life. So for the next 6 hours, your adenosine production and accumulation is completely stopped because of the coffee. I get it tastes good. But give yourself 6 hours at least. Treat your body right. So, you see, your sleep doesn't start 5 minutes before bed. It starts in the morning. Right? So if you drink the coffee, I can go on so much.
That's great.
You drink the coffee. You block adenosine. There's a tank. You expose yourself to the fluoro lights. No melatonin. So biologically, you're completely stopping yourself from getting ready for sleep. That's only biologically. Not speaking about emotions psychologically. And then environmentally and habitually. So when it comes to sleeping, we gotta look out for those things, right? But many people don't know because they just don't know. Nobody educates anybody about this, right? So when I tell people things, they're like, oh, I get it, right? And I love those moments when people are like, oh, that's why. I was like, yes, this is my happy moments, right? When people come to that aha moment, they're like, oh, Sveti, I didn't know this. Like, well, if you have questions, I can answer more questions, right? So because I've researched this so much. And you see, these are sleep disruptors, right? I can't remember the original question anymore.
Doesn't matter.
So, once you look out for this, like blue lights, we're talking about blue light. So again, you got that coffee in your body from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m.
Actually, I have a question, again, just me wanting to know more about this. So would that be the reason why we feel after we have a coffee that we're less tired because it's actually just blocking our body from knowing how much adenosine there is?
No, it's not that reason.
Yeah.
But say caffeine is excitatory, so it excites us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it gives us that boost of, like, it wakes us up because it's a stimulant. It's good for some, parts of the day when we need it. In the morning, I have nothing against it, right? But I do when it comes after 2 p.m., 1 p.m., depending on the person, depending on your natural rhythm, right? So, yes, it gives us that boost, it gives us that kind of, but why do we need it in the first place?
Yeah, that's the bigger question, right?
I would look into that rather
Yeah.
than reaching out for stimulant.
Absolutely. And so if the half-life of coffee is, say, 6 hours, depending on how anyone's body metabolizes it, right? Because some people it's probably 8 hours and some people it's 7, I'm sure. So, I mean, really that means that coffee's in the system for 12 hours, more than that, right?
Yeah.
That's why I always say to people, like, exactly the same thing. If you're going to have a coffee, like, have it first thing in the morning. Anything after lunchtime, or like you said, 2 o'clock, right? That's getting in the way of your sleep. And so if it shuts down the body's ability to make up adenosine, does that mean then, say, after those 6 hours, then the body begins to accumulate it?
Yeah.
So by the time we get to our normal sleep time, say it's 8 o'clock, we haven't had the full amount of time to fill it up.
Exactly.
Therefore, it's probably not filled up.
Exactly.
And therefore, we don't feel that sleep pressure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we need to build, sleep pressure. And that works also with our circadian rhythm. Even though I mentioned this process as separate, they are together. They drive each other. So your circadian rhythm drives everything, every process during day and night.
Yeah.
It tells you when you're hungry, it tells you when you're sleepy, it tells you when you're everything in the person in the body is controlled by your internal body clock. However, it's influenced by other processes too. And as much as it's influenced, it influences other processes. For example, if we didn't sleep well, the next day we can no longer control our appetite. So our metabolic system is disrupted because those hunger hormones, leptin and ghrelin, are no longer in harmony. They're fighting, right? So they no longer speak to each other. So the signal and the trigger for that hunger and for when ghrelin gets aggressive, it says, "I'm hungry, feed me." That's a normal signal for the humans and animals, and that's controlled again by our body clock. So, but when we sleep poorly the night before, ghrelin is overproduced, and leptin takes like backseat. Like, I'm not talking to that, right? It's too aggressive.
Yeah.
I'm not speaking to that. So leptin takes like a backseat and doesn't want to get involved. This is why we're continuously hungry during the day and we reach out for comfort food. But why do we need comfort food? Because we need serotonin, dopamine, again, which is not produced enough because we have too much adrenaline and cortisol. So those are fighting too. So again, there's so much going on in the body. We can no longer control. So we can't control our hormones. We can't control our metabolic system, and like endocrine system suffers. Metabolic system suffers. Our emotional stability is not there anymore. Our emotional resilience is not there, and we are just on the edge. On the edge where we also get to the point where we just want to kill everybody around us, including our children.
I've definitely been there before. Yeah.
When I go to and talk about sleep, I have these 4 points and 4 numbers and say to people, which number are you? It's like a fun game to play.
Right.
And first, I can't remember exactly like to quote it, but first number is like, I don't sleep. I stay up. It takes me hours to go to sleep, but once I sleep, I'm good. Number 2, it takes me hours to go to sleep, but blah blah blah, and then people like laugh about it. And last one is like, I'm pretty much all of those. My life is all messed up, and so is my sleep. My sleep is all messed up, so is my life. I just want to kill everybody around me, right? And you'd be surprised. So many people are in that category, and are just barely hanging there.
Yeah, I really feel like from a top-down view on looking after ourselves, I don't know. I feel like the more that I learn about sleep and just all of the fundamentals in health, I'm really starting to think that they're not all equal. They're all super important, but if you're not getting sleep, a lot of the other stuff doesn't work.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then and you solve that, and then some other things start to fall into place.
Exactly.
And I can totally think about what you're saying. Like there's those days where I get, and it's not regular because I'm really on it, but I'm thinking every now and then I'll get like a night of 6 hours sleep. I just know it's not enough. And then the next day I'm just like searching for stuff. I'm just like, oh, where's some more mangoes or some.
Yeah.
So I just want to eat food constantly.
Restless.
Exactly. Yeah. There's no like, I feel like I'm in a state of like sympathetic, like fight and flight. I'm just constantly like searching for something on those days when I don't get
Well, that is true. You are in a state of sympathetic nervous system dominance and that's that's the system that produces cortisol, adrenaline.
Yeah.
And you can no longer have those fluctuations of parasympathetic nervous system interference, right? You don't have it because you have so much of the stress hormones. And stuff, right? So this is why I tell people slow down at night, because we need to switch them from that sympathetic dominance to parasympathetic dominance, so people can slow down.
Yeah.
And they can start producing that serotonin and melatonin and things like that to let us kind of make us so sleep. There's nothing wrong with you, right? You just need to look out and also adjust what you do, because what you do directly influences how you feel and how things are going in terms of, are you getting sleepy, are you getting tired? So we talked a bit about alcohol, we talked a bit about light, and we talked a bit about the heart rate. What are other disruptors leading up to bedtime? Yeah, so obviously the blue light.
Yeah.
Also another really trigger. Once you learn how to relax, you are in that relaxed state. I think I'm in that relaxed state all the time.
Yeah, I get that vibe from you. Exactly. You always seem to be in that nice state.
Because I like that state. Once you are in a state, why would you want to be in anything else? Right? So, again, you don't have to be in a state all the time. But at night, it's crucial. So what disrupts your homeostasis in that emotional and biological homeostasis? I find that it's not just the light. It's loud noises in the house. Your TV is loud, your kids are screaming, your dog is barking, your husband trying to tell you things louder, your wife is yelling because she can't tell you things because you won't hear it. It's so loud everywhere. So I tell people, you gotta just switch everything off. It's not just the lights you need to switch off, because when you're trying to relax, if somebody starts talking loud, it will put you into fight or flight response, and you're there again. No matter what puts you in there, either it's the lights, either it's somebody frightens you, or if it's somebody talked loud at you. Right? It doesn't have to be an argument, like I said. So switch off all of that noise. But also another thing, I find the smells.
Okay.
A lot of people have those artificial air fresheners plugged into the wall. They are such disruptors. They carcinogen.
Yeah.
But so as much as they are carcinogens, which means they trigger mutation in our cells to start basically tumor growth, they also disrupt your nervous system. It disrupts your homeostasis. So why would you have it? Like when I go to some people's houses, I immediately can tell they've got artificial freshener. Yeah. People don't actually smell it themselves anymore because it's everywhere. It's in every room, in the bedroom. When I see that, I switch it off. Yeah. Because once I'm in that house, I don't want to smell it. Yeah. Because I get a headache. Yeah. Either it's psychological or it's biological, but I get a headache. And that will be first thing always in my brain. I gotta switch that off. And I can't switch off because I'm thinking of how do I switch all these things in the house, right? So I find that people spray perfume on themselves at night. That is a disruptor.
It's just weird. People do that, yeah.
Yeah, so don't do it. Stay away from these chemicals.
Because is that putting your nervous system into a state of like needing to like sort out those chemicals coming in?
Yeah, because they trigger histamine. They trigger reaction. It might not be visible. It might not just go like blow up and in rashes, but it's invisible. It's not visible immediately, but it does disruption in the body.
Yeah, I mean, it could be even neural inflammation. Like, it's just all that nasty stuff crosses over the blood-brain barrier, and it's just causing issues. Yeah.
So you can just absolutely disrupt you. So I'm talking from the point of view of nervous system.
Yeah.
When it comes to sleeping.
Yeah.
Not to delve deep into what it really happens, but I always tell people, you gotta switch that off. Environment is not just your light. It's so many more things, but they're little things, right? You don't need to buy another house. You don't need to move out.
Yeah.
You don't need to live in your garage and isolated from everything. You just...
Honey, I'm sleeping in the garage now.
Exactly. I'm going to the doghouse because it's safer.
And it's quiet.
Yeah. There's no window in the doghouse.
Yeah,
so it's just little things, but they do big bad things in our body.
So we've taken all the air fresheners out. We've turned half the lights off. We're having nice, calm conversations with everyone.
Be quiet.
Yeah, exactly. So then, what are the enhancers? So when you said that before, I was like, oh, enhancers. I like that.
Enhancers is very easy because you go from the point of what's the disruptor, and you just change every disruptor to sleep enhancer. So when it comes to sleep enhancers, you go from the point where you find your sleep disruptors. So if it is your TV, because TV really is this disruptor for a few reasons. It's not just the blue and green light straight into it's at your level, right? You go straight into your optic nerve. There's no barrier, there's no protection there. You just go straight in and just, work on that melatonin production.
Yeah.
But it's also how loud it is and how close it is to you as well. So instead of having TV, buy a sauna, right?
Yeah.
People spend $3,000 on TV.
Yeah.
Big screen. Why? Right? I mean, I get it. You want something to watch TV, it's your therapy, I get it.
Is there time to switch off kind of thing?
It is for some people, but if you really want to know what I want to tell you, right? I don't want to tell you, don't buy TV for $3,000. Buy a sauna.
Yeah.
Buy things like enhance your health, because you're here for a very short period of time. We really are, right?
Yeah.
So why make your life miserable and cut it short, right? So again, instead of having TV loud, don't have anything, or you can have those like yoga music. I call it yoga music, but anything that has that more relaxation kind of sound, with alpha brain kind of wave in the background. Or what else is a sleep disruptor? Alcohol, like we talked about it.
Yeah.
Instead of having alcohol, drink cranberry juice.
Yeah.
Or drink cherry juice. It looks like wine.
Yeah.
Right.
Or even just like find something that gives you. I mean, you're not going to get that same feeling, but find something that brings you that relaxation.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm slightly biased, but sauna is a great way to do that, right? Because we always hear from people using their sauna, it's like, a bunch of amazing stuff is happening physically, but one thing I didn't expect is it's just 30 minutes to myself to relax.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
But when you think about it, in the sauna, it's not just you isolating yourself for 30 minutes. You're giving your body that healing. The cells, you see, bacteria and bugs in our body can't survive when the temperature rises above a certain degree. So what you're doing is you're actually healing yourself. You're not just, you can go and sit under the tree for 30 minutes. But when you have something like sauna, you're giving your body so much more.
Yeah. Plus the relaxation.
Exactly.
And everything.
So you don't always, relaxation is not always sitting in the Buddha position and waiting for something to come, like enlightenment to come and enhance you, right? It's not that.
Yeah.
For many people, it's different things.
Yeah.
But you gotta know your boundaries. You gotta know what really disrupts
you. And how about people that are dealing with anxiety? I've been lucky; I've never had to deal with that. But people who just ruminate, they go to bed, say they do all of this stuff. I mean, I think if they do all these things, they're going to be in a better position mentally anyway.
Yeah.
So there are other things that they can sort of do to help them.
So when it comes to mental health, sleep is a direct contributor to that. Poor sleep will trigger more of that anxiety, if we're speaking about anxiety. But poor sleep will also prevent you from recovery. Direct correlation. So, again, yes, you get anxiety, I get it. I'm sorry you get anxiety. I'm truly am. I don't know. I can't really help you with that. But what I can do is I can teach you how you can work with your mind and how you can get to a state where you can control it a bit more. And so I always teach people the strategies to help them control the brain racing mind. Because see, for majority of people, or generally speaking, anxiety is a symptom of thinking too much of the future. Depression is, again, symptom of thinking too much of the past. And you see what happens. Now, speaking of this emotional psychological component, when we are in bed, we are alone with our thoughts and memories and thinking. It's we alone, and that's a scary part. Many people don't like that. Many people are scared to be alone. For that same reason, because it's scary to be there. It might not be any physical danger, but psychological state where you're scared to be alone with your own emotions and memories and triggers, it's even scarier than being in physical danger. It's not a very comfortable place and space to be in. And when we lie down in bed, even though whoever we've got next to us, we are still alone with our thoughts. And we have to deal with them.
And we don't want to deal with our thoughts, right? God forbid.
And many people are very scared to even be there. So this is where mantras come in. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. You don't have to ask forgiveness from anybody. You don't have to say thank you to anybody. You just say the words. And you want to keep yourself sane in that space. There are so many mantras. I teach you another healing mantra I just recently learned. I am peace. I am love. I am perfect health. If you say that to yourself 1,000,000 times, what do you think your brain is going to do?
It's going to start believing it.
Absolutely. I'm not perfect, right? Nobody is. I also have my thoughts and my things, but I know when to pull myself back and not allow myself to go there, because you train yourself so much. As soon as I'm emotionally disturbed for any reason by anybody, I tell myself the mantra or whatever mantra comes to mind. Either it's Ho'oponopono or either it's another mantra, to tell myself, I am perfect. I am love. I love myself.
I'm light. I'm energy. I'm free.
Whatever words come to you, chant them. This is, so this is just also, I teach people this other method. When you're lying in bed, there's so much research done on that. You gotta to give yourself that relaxation and space where it's safe, without having to go deep into what happened today, what happened 20 years ago, what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to, ruminating, because it's not going to do you good by any stretch of your imagination. It will not. First, it will not give you any sleep. Secondly, they give you more anxiety and depression. And you see, sometimes anxiety is learned. It's not just because it happened to you by, incorrect chemicals in your brain, but it's learned. It's a learned behavior. There is even such thing. It's learned hopelessness, where you ruminate on things and then you teach yourself to be like that. So this is where you're going to unlearn that. You can absolutely unlearn that, and you can absolutely teach yourself new behavior. Slowly, one mantra at a time.
That's what I love about mindfulness meditation. I'm not an expert by any means, but what I found when I started practicing mindfulness, it was easier for me to realize when I was in one of those ruminating cycles in my brain. You know what I mean? It was easier for me to catch myself and go, oh, that's bring me down a path I don't want to go down. You know what I mean? And that's just so powerful, because as soon as you can start to realize you're telling yourself some negative chatter, you can catch yourself, and then you can switch it to something like you said, like a Ho'oponopono prayer. I remember the day that Ho'oponopono prayer changed my life. I had all this resentment and anger toward my dad, and all of a sudden, like, I just started like saying the Ho'oponopono prayer to him, you know, in my mind, obviously. And I remember I was driving home. I had like a 40-minute drive, and I was just saying it over and over and over again. Then I started saying it out loud, and then I started crying, and then it was like this whole thing, and I just had this big realization of like all this crazy stuff, which is totally another podcast. But it's so powerful to be able to catch yourself and then utilize something like a Ho'oponopono prayer. It just can change your life. Seriously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You see, it doesn't really matter what it is. You don't have to know the science behind it. You don't even know you don't need to know where it comes from. But what you need to know, when I tell people, just do it. Really, it's not going to harm you. It might feel unnatural to start, but so what? Nothing's natural to start. We have to learn everything.
Yeah.
And once you have the desire to change your life, you would do it. This is the easy stuff, right?
Yeah.
And if you know it can help even a little bit, you do it. So I teach people also gratitude. You know, lie in bed, I know you have all these things, but distract yourself with thinking, what could happen today? Even though you might not think, oh, nothing good happened, my life is completely ruined, my life is this and this. There is one thing absolutely happened to you good. Somebody opened the door for you. Somebody gave you away when you're driving. Somebody gave you bought you a coffee. Somebody told you a kind word. Just focus on that. Right? Everybody has something to be grateful for.
Absolutely.
And if you find out one thing every single night, you will teach your brain to think that way. And then eventually it will become unconscious habit.
Yeah. I actually find if I practice some gratitude right before I go to sleep, just when I go to sleep quicker. It's just all of a sudden it's just like, I'm gone.
Because you're putting yourself in a really relaxed. Because you see, we need to transition from one brain wave to another. So instead of being in that kind of dominating brain wave where you got to think a lot, do a lot, survive, you know, you would transition to alpha, and then you transition slowly into sleep, light sleep, and then into deep sleep, REM sleep. So it's always like this. Life is not never a straight line. Life is is always like this. But you gotta control that too.
Yeah.
You can't just be always here or always here. It needs to be fluctuation, and oftentimes you need to help yourself to get there.
Totally. Like, it's just everything in life is like that. You know what I mean? I've even caught myself recently, like, it's okay to like be in a sad mood for a bit, you know?
Yeah.
Experience it, feel it, be it for a bit. And then you transition out of that.
Exactly. You see, I was going to say, I forgot. You see how relaxed I am? I can't think because I'm in that alpha state where I'm just totally ready for sleep.
Yeah.
And that's good because even in that state, we can't think. And that's a good thing because we don't want to think.
Yeah, absolutely. So people are getting rid of their disruptors. They're doing some enhancing practices in the evening. They're practicing some mantras to get out of their head. Are they sleeping well then if they're doing those things?
Eventually.
Yeah.
Because it can't harm. You gotta have to understand what is it that helps you. Not two people are the same. So you gotta try it. I always to give people a list of things. When I work with people one-to-one, I give them a plan. I ask them a question. What do you think of this? They're like, oh yeah. I was like, I want you to give me something that you know it could be relaxing, and I'll help you.
Yeah.
Because I can't do the sleeping for you. I can, but it's not going to benefit you, right?
Yeah.
I can't just go to your bed and sleep for you while you're ruminating and harming yourself. So you got to understand what helps you. This is why you're going to try these practices. You might think, that doesn't work. Meditation doesn't work. Yeah, but have you tried it? Yeah, I tried it once. Okay, well, let's try it a different way.
Yeah.
Right? Let's try different things to help you.
So what are you doing with your sleep then? I feel like you'll be doing some cool out there sort of stuff.
Yes, so first of all, I have no Wi-Fi in the house. I have no TV, right? I don't want that. I don't have music playing. I have, well, basically my house is quiet. I don't want to have any noises. I have 2 kids and they sometimes fight, but I don't put myself in a state where I have to yell at them and get really stressed. Yeah, I can shout at them every now and then, stop it! But it's like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you put yourself back. I always have hot shower. Because you see, it's some research done on hot shower. And what it does, it prepares us biologically to produce melatonin. When we are after hot shower, we're cooling down. And once we're cooling down, the body triggers you biologically to produce melatonin. This is why it's important. Some people say, I can't have a shower, get too hot. Okay, well, let's find something else for you, right? So what I do, I always have a shower at night. I know myself, I can have a hot shower. I know I could put myself into this place now that I can work on my laptop. 1 minute later, I have a shower. 2 minutes later, I'll be asleep. Right? So I learned how not to allow these things to disrupt. Because I take precautions. My laptop the screen brightness goes all the way down. I have no sound. My lights are off. I have a salt lamp. I did not drink any alcohol, I did not drink any coffee, so it starts there. So I'm preparing myself ahead of time. And if I must be on my laptop, I know that it's not going to disrupt me. And I sometimes wear blue blocking glasses. Right? I do look at my phone because every night I do my goal setting. Either it's for a week, either it's for the day, either I'm ticking it off, what's happened, what I've done. And I'll write a letter to God. This is my practice. Every Sunday night, that's what I do. And I do it for the week. Whatever you want to put in there, your thoughts. You can do journaling, right? But that's what I do. I have an envelope with the God on it, right? And I write a letter and I put it under my pillow. And next Sunday I'll do it again. I rip the letter and start again. But every night you have those rituals where you either read a book. I do that. I either read a book, puts me into sleep after 1-2 pages. And you gotta catch that moment. When you catch that moment of that sleepiness transition, drop everything.
Go there,
Take that moment and use it. So eye mask. I have the rituals I developed. So always shower, always herbal tea, always like something on my phone. But again, I have the that yellow filter.
That night shift.
Thing, and it's brightness all the way down. And I don't have it so close, it's a little bit further. But I don't spend too much on it, 5 minutes. And then I have the ritual, I have essential oil I put on tip of my nose. I have...
What essential oil?
I have lavender.
Yeah.
And eye mask as well.
Eye mask, absolutely.
Yeah.
I have eye mask. I often sleep with open window because I like the fresh air.
Yeah.
I don't have air conditioner either. Even though because I just want to have fresh air in my house. It's Queensland, it's hot, I get it.
Yeah.
There is air conditioning in one of the rooms, so in the office. So what else do? I sleep on this mattress top that's far infrared rays and also ionization because I know that it's going to be good for me. I have a good pillow. It supports my neck, and once I'm in there, it's like I'm hugged. You know, like the sensation of being hugged gives you that, production of oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine.
Yeah, so like we're connected with someone else.
You feel safe.
Yeah.
My bedroom is my haven. I have no closet in my bedroom. I just took everything out because it's my bedroom, it's for sleeping. I have a king size bed, it's comfortable. My pillow supports my neck. I have this really heavy blanket because I like to be cozy. I hug another pillow if I want to, because sometimes it's just, if you press it against your chest, it might give you that more relaxation. So find things that help you. But that's what I do.
I need to get more pillows, I feel like.
Yeah.
I don't know, get a pillow. That's a good idea.
I have so many pillows at home.
Yeah.
But you can never have enough because you always hug somebody else wants to steal your pillow, so you end up with another pillow. Right? There's a backup.
Yeah.
You always find a kid in your bed some stage. And you always find that they stole your pillow.
Yeah. Do you have all the same pillows?
No, they're all different.
Yeah, okay.
Different pillows.
Depending on like how you feel, right?
I prefer my pillow, but sometimes it's stolen. But each kid pick their own, and then they steal from each other. And my daughter switches the pillow, but my son knows. He's 6, but he knows it's my pillow. It's my pillow, right?
Don't touch the pillow.
Don't touch that pillow.
Yeah.
So, well, I don't do a lot
Yeah.
because I don't need to. I put myself in a state where my brain knows the cues.
Yeah. Yeah, totally
But
get
it's
that.
not always what you do. It's sometimes it's what you don't do. So that also plays a role.
Yeah, well, not doing any of those disruptors, right?
Yeah. So I live in a wooden house, right? On the land, not big land, but backyard. But for people who live in apartments, I always tell them you have to go ground yourself. You gotta stand with your bare feet on the ground to take those, positive ions from your body, and just, drop them into the grass and get those negative ions flowing to harmonize your body.
Yeah. You see those thermal imaging cameras where people, like before, like when they're like wearing shoes, standing on tiles or something man-made, and then after like 10 minutes of standing barefoot on the grass, and like their core body temperature drops. Like it's just more calm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it takes away that, negativity, like electrical negativity, but also like electrical disbalance, but also lowers your heart rate, lowers your blood pressure, calms your racing mind, right? It just puts you in a more homeostatic space, right? Where the body will do its own work.
Yeah.
You don't need anything.
Yeah.
The body will do it, just let it.
Yeah. It sounds to me like, I'm thinking about all these things you've been talking about, it's like if it's all going back to nature and back to what we evolved in,
Yes.
in that sort of surrounding, there would be fresh air because we would have been not in walls, you know what I mean? We would have been grounded because we would have been outside and touching the earth, and we wouldn't have any lights. We certainly wouldn't have any Wi-Fi. So it's like we probably wouldn't have any alcohol unless it was like some special ceremony or something. And so we take all those things away, all those fairly recent sort of inventions and things, take all that away. Like you said, the body's going to do it for you.
Yeah, just let it.
Yeah, it's just going back to nature.
And this is why we are going back to where we evolved from. Even though we evolved so far, Wi-Fi technology, amazing, right? Yeah, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
What would we do without it? But you gotta have also space in your life where you go back to very basics.
Yeah.
It's such a cliche, so go back to basics, but there is so much in it.
Absolutely, and I think it's like with health as well. Like think of all the people that are really healthy, or all of the things that people talk about with being healthy. It's all going back to basics. We don't need to overcomplicate it. And I agree with you so much about, the science is there, it exists, it has a place, absolutely. But I find people always allow the science to dictate things that they're doing or get in the way from possibly doing something that would help them. You know what I mean? And so you don't need to be a scientist to be perfectly healthy.
You don't.
Don't overcomplicate it. You know what I mean? Like, does that food look enticing to you, and is it pretty close to the original form it was in nature? Yes. Well, chances are it's going to be good for you then.
Exactly.
Do you need to know about the vitamin structure and all the enzymes in there? I mean, yeah, it's good to know that. It's handy, but don't let that dictate whether you eat it or not.
Yeah, it could just confuse you more.
Exactly. And it'll get in the way of you just enjoying a piece of fruit, for example, or some vegetables, that sort of thing,
Yes.
And I find that same thing with what you're saying with sleep. Like, yep, there's science showing that blue light is not good for us, and there's science showing that alcohol gets in the way of sleep. But ultimately, let's just, you don't need to know that stuff. Just do the natural things, the things that are normal for us to be experiencing.
Yeah.
And you'll probably have a better time sleeping or just being more vibrant.
I find many people emotionally struggle in life. So that is also another area people need to control as much as they can, or do something to heal that. Because if you're not emotionally happy or not emotionally stable, chances are you might get insomnia. So.
And it'll probably manifest somewhere else in your body.
Absolutely. You see, I always tell people, insomnia is not a disease. It's a symptom of something else. It's literally like a pain.
Yeah.
You can't call pain a disease. It's a symptom.
Yeah.
But don't take just Panadol and mask the pain, because it's going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Even if you don't feel it. But eventually that pain will grow. And that pain could go into inflammation and all this stuff. So insomnia is a symptom of something else that is not working for you. This is why I still want to work with people one-to-one, because I help them understand what is going on. As much as I like giving them my online program, it's easy for me.
Yeah.
However, I want to help them to understand what is it why do you even have it? Why do you have insomnia? How can you, in the best possible way?
Yeah. What's going on? Like what's going on for you, you know, that's leading to that?
Yeah. Either it's your habits,
Yeah.
either it's your emotional or psychological state. You gotta understand, and you're gonna work from that angle.
Yeah. Go to the source.
Exactly.
Which is scary for a lot of people. You know?
Can be,
and it's
yeah.
hard.
But this is why people prefer working with somebody, because that person makes it safe.
Yeah.
And when it's emotional psychological, oftentimes it's even easier than changing your habits. Because if you're with the right person, the right practitioner, the practitioner will make it safe and it will turn it around for you. You just have to, the only thing you have to do is be honest, obviously open up and be vulnerable. Once you're vulnerable, you can do anything to your brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
The brain is ready for transformation. Just gonna put it in the right space and then twist it, right?
Yeah. I mean, we put up all these barriers because we don't want to get hurt.
Yes.
You know. Yeah, I've been seeing a kinesiologist, and to be in that safe space, like you said, it's just, change can happen so quickly if you allow it. You know,
exactly.
If you're ready for that and you're open for change. A lot of people hold on to the issues they got going on because that's part of their story.
And then they manifest in different parts of the body.
Yeah, 100%.
And obviously, that's when you don't want to take it that long. Right? You don't want to take it to that extreme, where it's manifesting into tumors, into diseases,
into arthritis, into chronic pain, into
insomnia too.
Yeah.
So you see, if your psychology is right, your biology will get right. Because they are very closely connected. They're friends, right? They're together. So your organism has different components: biology, psychology, meridians, things we can't see. And science often can't explain it. This is why I don't emphasize a lot about science, because sleep science will tell you one thing, human biological science will tell you a different thing. But at the end of the day, there is no science to explain everything.
Our body's too intelligent for that.
It's very intelligent, too intelligent for our own, for ourselves, right? And there's no much understood about the brain, because we have brain and we have the mind, and we have energies, and we have invisible things that control us. Right? So without thinking too much, start with basics. I don't think in 15th century or even earlier, people had insomnia. I don't think so. Not to this degree.
Absolutely.
We have it now, and certainly not sleep disorders, unless of course you get the physiologically obstructions there. I understand that, but I'm talking generally like insomnia and all these diseases that go with it. They all start from it.
Well, they all start when this culture that we live in kind of began.
Exactly. It's modern days diseases, disorders.
I love it when you hear people say, they go camping and they're like, or I've even been out camping and I've said it, you're like, oh, it's only like 7:30 and I'm like so tired, and you think it's because you've done a hike or something like that. It's like, no, you're just back in tune with nature.
Yes.
And you're away from all the stuff that's getting in the way.
And then you wake up early.
Yeah.
Because it's your natural rhythm.
Yeah, exactly.
See, before invention of electricity, which I'm grateful for the electricity, but the other side, people, our sleep got disrupted and our circadian rhythm shifted because of the exposure to the lights. So again, if you really, really want to go back to basics, go with the animals. They go to sleep with the sun, they wake up with the sun.
Yeah.
Unless they, animals, nocturnal animals that sleep,
Yeah. But it's still based on the sun, right?
Absolutely, yes. So that's a going really to nature. Sometimes it's not possible with our lifestyle, but it's good to know that.
100%. I mean, you look at every other species on Earth, and I don't know how many there are, millions. How many of them like don't go to sleep, or is their action not dictated by where the sun is? It all is.
Yeah.
You know, whether they're nocturnal, whether they're awake during the day, when they eat, it's all about nature. It's all about the sun. We're the only species that's removed from that.
Yeah.
And we're the only species with chronic disease.
When they do studies and experiments on mice in the lab, they experiment with interfering their natural, state with different things when they did experiments. So when they did one of the experiments, they deprived mice of all stages of sleep.
Right.
And they died after about 11 to 30 days. They dropped dead. Even though they can live for 2 years or 3 years. So their interference from external factors can just kill them.
Yeah.
Deprive them of sleep. And they die directly not from not sleeping, they die from organ failure. It's usually the heart that fails. Again, we depend on our own kind of homeostasis. But when we have interfered from external kind of stuff, we suffer. Just let yourself be healthy. Just let it. Create that environment that supports it.
Amen. So if people want to get in touch with you and want to learn a bit more about what you do, how can they do that?
So I have a website, svetiwilliams.com. So I have my online program there. It's everything's in it. Everything I know is in it.
Yeah.
But I also have a free consultations. So go in there, just book in a free consultation. I love those consultations because before people can buy a program, some people say, I'm just ready for a program to do myself and want to learn. Yeah, that's good. But I like also for other people, I like to understand what is going on. They can tell me one story or they can think of one story. But really it is about understanding where is everything coming from. What's really happening.
Yeah.
This is why I like that.
And you've got a few books as well, right?
I have a book, Fix My Sleep.
Yeah.
That was published 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But in the book, what's important in the book is that in the middle of the book is a method that I originally started doing myself.
Yeah.
It's not in time method because it'll be a whole book.
Yeah.
But it's just a few little exercises that I teach to sleep. And that's sort of the most important thing in the book. I just wanted to get it out there and introduce people to it.
Yeah, I've read that book and I love it because it's such an easy read. And again, there's some science in there for the people who really want to learn more about that. But ultimately, it's like, here's just some simple things you can do.
Yes.
Love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just a little thing so people start learning. It's very basic. So, and there's a method. I teach that. And it really helps. Like, once you try little things, your body will respond. It might not respond immediately. Some people take a week. Some people take immediately, if you're ready.
But even then, I mean, what's a week after years of sleep deprivation?
Yeah. And some people want give me a quick pill, like magic pills. Like, I'd love to, but there's no such thing.
Yeah.
Because it took you years of insomnia. You need to slowly get back into that rhythm. If you are being on a bad diet and you suddenly go to detox, you can die because of the toxins in the blood.
Yeah.
So you gotta take it gradually. So again, it comes with any aspect of health. But I find that sleep happened really quickly for me, and it happens like that to many people. So you just never guess. You can never guess until you try.
Well, we are all sweaty. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. So, thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's been fun.